As smart as man was, and as capable as you are, we've got a problem. Deterioration of the human race. It's in trouble. A team of geneticists has been comparing DNA sequences, this is from the technical literature again, in succeeding generations of Icelanders. These geneticists have found that Icelandic children have an average of 63.2 more mutations, replication errors than their parents. This is in a technical, secular study. Mutation expert Alexei Kondrasov reviewed this Icelandic study and agreed with the findings of the authors, and he's a specialist. He also suggests that the accumulation, now he's not a Methodist or a Presbyterian or a Baptist Sunday school teacher. I mean, this is an Eastern scientist. This is published in Nature magazine, world's most prestigious scientific journal. He suggests that the accumulation of mutations, replication errors in the human population is causing an increase in genetic disorders such as color blindness and schizophrenia and autism. We're in trouble. A few years ago, I read the literature and I was appalled that just a few years ago, every 250 children, one has autism. What is it today? 1 out of 25 children has some form of autism. We have some specialists over in Groesbeck. There's a special autism clinic there, and they know the latest data. 1 out of every 25 children has some form of autism. That's terrible, terrible. Kondrasov writes, plainly, human DNA sequence quality is relentlessly worsening. Based on the Icelandic study, if we assume the first, and again, I'm quoting them, citing them, if we assume the first generation of humanity had no or zero errors in their DNA, then on the average, the members of the second generation would have about 60 mutation/replication errors in their DNA, and the members of the 200th human generation, about 4,000 years later, will have an average of 12,000 mutation/replication errors in their DNA. CM note, it's very interesting to note that there have been only 150 or so generations from Adam to the present. This is an indirect admission from the technical literature that the human race has been around only a few thousand years. Members of the human race now average about 18,000. You and I have 18,000 mutation replication errors. Errors. Now, wait a minute. I thought 528 hertz would stimulate the correction of those errors. How did we get so many errors? It's not 528 any longer. What is it? It ranges all over the place with a northite contaminated with the various other chemical crystals. We're in trouble. Real trouble. When was it? The perfect anorthite albedo? That's the reflectivity. Before the flood. Before the flood, did man live longer than he does today? Absolutely. And all of this is substantiated. It is estimated that when members of the human race reach an average of, we already have 18,000, when we reach an average of 21,000 mutation/replication errors in their DNA, the human race will be at a critical mass and will no longer be able to procreate/reproduce at survival levels and will quickly go extinct. We're in trouble. If the evolutionary community reads all of the technical literature, is any hope. But we read literature that's superior to the technical literature, far superior. Do we have any hope? Sure, we have hope. The Creator Himself is going to come back and take care of the whole thing. Cell replication, we'll finish this. I texted or I emailed David Bassett. As you can tell from the exchange every month, I rely heavily on him. And I said I had heard that every 7 years we have a new body. So that needed to be included in this discussion, that we have actually all the cells replaced except for the brain cells. And so he looked up this article and sent it to me, and I appreciate that so much. And here's an excerpt from that article. It's not exactly 7 years. Someone may have compiled that, but watch this. It is true that individual cells have a finite lifespan and have to be replaced. And when they die off, they're replaced with new cells. Red blood cells live for about 4 months, while white blood cells live on average more than a year. Skin cells live about 2 or 3 weeks. Colon cells have it rough. They die off after about 4 days, and then they have to be replicated. And guess what is one of the primary causes of aging and death in civilized society? Colon cancer. Now it begins to make more sense. Sperm cells have a lifespan of only about 3 days, while brain cells typically last an entire lifetime. Neurons in the cerebral cortex, for example, are not replaced when they die. Conclusion. Scientists are now asking a more strategic question, and this is still from the technical literature. What is the life expectancy of the human race given the negative, cumulative impact of mutation/replication errors? Now that's the end of the technical question. Here is the director's observation. It is obvious from the actual scientific evidence at hand that man in his first appearance on this planet was superior to modern man. He is not the product of evolutionary processes, but instead is the product of divine creation.